Good day, my name is Markus. I'm the CEO of Jam Cyber, and in this Cyber CEO segment, we usually look at some technical stuff and explain it in short and simple terms. Today, we're looking at how to secure your passwords. First question, I guess, why do we have to secure our passwords? And the three main reasons I can sort of come up with is 9 out of 10 breaches start with employee and password error. So if 90% of successful hacks start with often password related issues, it's definitely an area of interest for us in cybersecurity. The interesting thing for cyber criminals though at the moment is that a fully cloud enabled business is pretty much defined by somewhere, from 6 to 10 passwords. So by the time I've got your domain management console password, your Google or 365 admin password, your VoIP phone system password, your online backup password, and a few others, I can pretty much eradicate your business probably within about 5 or 6 minutes. So having a solid track record of who accessed and used those master passwords, and have a solid repository for them, not on a piece of paper or in an unprotected Word document, is absolute key, because if those few passwords go in the wrong hands, your business can basically be wiped. Last but not least, phishing is one of the top 3 most successful threats, and password management is a very effective way as actually doubles up as a phishing defense. I'll explain that in a little moment. Now, if you don't have staff using password management, what tends to happen is I call it password laziness. It's the fact that people use the same password across the board for everything from online banking through to their newspaper subscription. And of course, one then being exposed means that there's access to a whole raft of things. The next one is that if you don't properly manage your passwords, there's studies that suggest that 1 in 4 former employees will still have some form of access to your past systems. In the worst instance, that could be Zero or your accounting system, or it could be email or files they still have access to, or some random cloud tool like, I don't know, maybe your email campaign software, which gives somebody access to your entire user base or client base. So clearly not a position you want to be in. Through badly managed passwords, password scams are much more likely to succeed. Obviously, number one would be phishing, but also the funky ones where they find one and they know, say, one of your staff uses password 5 in quite a few places. They then send an email saying, so with the subject line, hey, your password is password 5. And because that's a password that person uses a lot, it's a super persuasive email from the get-go, and grabs the attention of the staff, and whatever the email portrays to be or gets the employee to do is much more likely to succeed. And that's how a lot of scams work. If you do get staff to manage your passwords, you have an additional phishing and brute force protection. Phishing, I'll show you that in a moment, because if a password management tool will not give you the credentials for a fake website, so very powerful there. And of course, if you have a policy that basically enforces strong passwords, the ability to brute force hack basically by automated trying of passwords becomes basically impossible. The other thing is that a lot of browsers to this day store passwords in plain text. So if a perpetrator manages to somehow gain access to a computer or run a software on a computer, they can potentially extract any stored passwords. And of course, if there's business critical systems or passwords to business critical systems stored, that's clearly not something you want to have. Last but not least, there is a lot of tools business, especially small business, now use that they want to share. But then when people leave, they forget to change the password. So another benefit of a password management system can be that you share passwords and you have a track record of who accessed it, but you can also share it in a hidden manner. So the passwords can be used, but actually not looked up, if that makes sense. So if you embark on the search for password management software, what do you need to look out for? The most important thing is that your data, your passwords, right? They're always encrypted, and not just when they're hosted on the server side with that provider, but even in transit through to you, and even on your own computer. If there's a cache repository that stores them for offline use, it has to be encrypted. I'm not even going to mention multi-factor authentication, because if you will basically put all your eggs in one basket. So you're going to make sure it's a super secure basket. And MFA is an absolute no-brainer and has to be enforced. Another one in particular for law firms would be that you ensure it's an Australian-based storage, and that's bit harder to find because a lot of US providers are in that market. And last but not least, we would recommend that you can choose a split between personal and business use, so that people who leave pretty much do that with the business account. They have all the business stuff in there, but they can also maintain their passwords in their private repository. And one of the reasons for that is if you provide that for personal use as well, the adoption will be much greater. The tool we recommend, full stop, is LastPass, lastpass.com. Market leader, was one of the first to market, one of the best products in the enterprise grade. Comes also with a family account for each employee that can then basically host up to 5 family members, and that's obviously independent, that's not under your control. So yeah, LastPass definitely recommended, and we are a preferred implementation partner as well, so we can certainly assist if you're looking to get going on that tool. Now I'm going to quickly show you how it works. Cool, and so here we are. This is just Edge, but it could be Chrome, Firefox. LastPass supports pretty much every major browser. And just to show you how this works, basically, is you have these add-on like tabs here where you can go in and you can just pretty much search for something. So if I have an ANZ account, I can show these up, or if I have some 365 account, they just all pop up here. And what's interesting is obviously we have, for example, of clients with that, and some of those accounts are shared out to me, so I can see those in here, even though they're actually not mine, because just the company makes those available to staff who need to have access to specific ones. So we can control that, and on the back of that, we actually track who accessed that. So if a tech leaves, we can pretty much make sure we change all the passwords a specific tech has accessed. So that's the sort of in-browser functionality. You can also create secure passwords that can be quite handy. This can also be defined by a policy, so that you can actually only store passwords that are secured, and you can define on what LastPass proposes when people sign up to services or renew passwords. And in the land of passwords, there's no two ways about it. Length and complexity just kills it all. 4 or 5 years ago, the opinions started to change a bit because people wouldn't remember them, and so they made, it was like, oh, I'd rather have differing easy ones than secure ones because you can't remember them and use the same everywhere. But meanwhile, with tools like LastPass, we can use complex ones across the board because you literally do no longer remember them. Because not only can you use them in your browsers and add-ons, but you can also use them on your personal devices, and iPads, iPhones, Android phones, whatever, across platforms, Macs, the lot. So it's really your one password repository. Now, the way this looks like on an internet page is it basically shows you got 6 available, for example, here. You then go down, you choose the one you want, and it pre-fills the lot. And this can actually go also beyond the username and password. In this instance, for example, is a security number involved. So it can't just store the username and password. It can actually store more than just 2 items, which is quite handy for more complex logon pages. When you go to a page like Google, again, you can pretty much go in here and choose which one you want to use. You can scroll in here once you've done that and click on next. Depending on the implementation, it automatically provides the password, or again, you choose the password and then you log in. The interesting thing, and of course this is not a real page, but this is a fake Microsoft logon page, and in the case of this being a real page, it wouldn't actually show you available password combinations for this page. So that's sort of the indirect phishing protection that LastPass password management provides. Moving on, we've got sort of the actual vault access as well. So in here, not only do you have access to all the passwords that you stored, but also, and you can group them and stuff, but also access to passwords that were shared with you. You can also manage a limited number of single sign-ons. You can keep some notes. You can keep credit card details in here as well for pre-fill. So you can then choose those to be pre-filled in any browser. You can store Wi-Fi passwords securely. All the kind of stuff that if it were to leak from, say, a stolen computer, would be really a real issue for your company cybersecurity. Cool. So with that, I close that and hope you have a lovely weekend. Thanks so much for your time. And if you can help with any password management system implementations, be in touch. Thanks so much. Have a good time.